Okay, it may be helpful then to put some numbers in place here so that we get a better idea of how this will work in terms of making different projections and such. So say for instance we have our sales of, we'll say it's $200,000, and again we'll just make this column like that. And then we'll have our variable expenses, costs and expenses. And since this is, takes up a bit of space here, but I just want us to remember, that it is, uh, that it's not just cost of goods sold, but also other expenses, maybe say like shipping and sales commissions and such that will vary with, uh, with number of units produced and sold. So let's say this is 80,000, and say that we have our fixed cost and expense of 40,000. So then these are items that we would have to be given here, and so now then what we would have is we'd have above here is, so units, we have 100,000. So just before we even construct the income statement, then what that would mean is that on a per unit basis, we have sales, an average selling price of $2, and as we go through that calculation, we will lock that one in here, and an average variable cost of 80 cents. So when it comes to contribution margin, this is just the difference between the sales and the variable costs and expenses, 120,000. And so then our operating income number then will be the same formula. So this case, contribution margin minus fixed costs and expenses. Now, since these first three are, these first three change with units, what we can do then is take the same approach for the contribution margin. So take the 120,000 divided by the 100,000 units. And so in this case, we want to make sure that, that adjusts. And so that would be $1.20 per unit. So if we wanted to construct different projections for these financial statements, one thing that we could do is we could recast this. So for instance, if we change this by say 100 units, so we'll just say 100 units here, so then we would have 100,000 plus 100 units. So then when we would project the income statement, then our sales amount would be $2 per unit multiplied by the 100,100. And notice that this is this change then would be $200. So we increase unit sales by 100. The increase in sales, so 100 units, and so that would be $200. So we would want to then copy this formula down, and we see that, and similarly, we copy this formula down. We see that the change then in contribution is $120. So if we finish this out, we have our $40,000 here. So then when we copy this formula over, notice that the change, so as we draw this down, the change from going from 100,000 to 100,100, the change in operating income will be $120, just the change in the contribution. So presuming that we didn't have to incur any more fixed costs or expenses, and that's the nature of those animals, fixed costs and expenses, the change in profit then will merely be the change in contribution.